The moment most men miss is not loud. It doesn't arrive dressed like fantasy. It doesn't look like a woman throwing herself at an older man with some obvious confession written across her face. It usually looks smaller than that, quieter, more controlled, almost easy to dismiss if you're still trapped in the teenage idea that desire always needs to be dramatic to be real. It doesn't. Sometimes the clearest signal is restraint, a pause before she leaves, a question that lingers a little too long. The way she stops performing and starts relaxing around you, which is rare now because most people are exhausted from performing all the time. And if you don't understand what you're looking at, you'll either flatter yourself too early or miss the whole thing completely. If you're here for truth instead of ego, subscribe now because this kind of clarity matters, not for vanity, not for numbers, for your life, for the quality of your decisions, for the difference between reading people with maturity and reading them through hunger. Here's what this really means. When a woman secretly wants intimacy with an older guy, the real signs are usually not about bold seduction. They're about emotional permission, trust, psychological safety, curiosity directed at his depth, not just his image. What she is often drawn to is not simply age. It's what age can represent when it's embodied well: stability, calm, perspective, grounded masculinity, a man who is no longer at war with himself. That's the thesis. And if you understand that, everything gets clearer. Because the biggest misconception is this: men hear she wants an older guy and immediately reduce it to novelty, rebellion, or some shallow attraction to status. They think it's about money, power, validation, some cliche. Sometimes people do operate on that level. Let's not be naive. But if that's the only lens you have, you will misread a deeper situation with embarrassing speed. The hard truth is that real intimacy is rarely pulled toward age alone. It's pulled toward nervous system experience, toward presence, toward the feeling of being with someone who doesn't leak chaos into every room. Some women are not secretly drawn to older men because they want a father figure. As insecure people love to joke, they're drawn because they're tired of emotional boys in adult bodies, tired of uncertainty packaged as freedom, tired of men who confuse inconsistency with mystery, tired of conversations that never land anywhere real. And when they meet a man who listens without scrambling, who speaks without begging, who carries himself with a kind of quiet order, something in them notices, not always immediately, but deeply. The first clear sign is this: she starts giving you access to the part of herself she does not give to men she only wants attention from. Not just smiles, not just flirting. Access. She slows down around you. She stops trying so hard to impress. She lets moments breathe. She asks questions that are less about what you have and more about how you think. She wants to know what shaped you, what you regret, what changed you, what you believe now that you didn't believe 10 years ago. Pay attention to that. A woman who only wants stimulation usually keeps things on the surface because the surface is easy, it's manageable, it gives her room to exit without emotional cost. But when she secretly wants intimacy, especially with an older man she respects, she becomes interested in the architecture of you. Not the costume, the architecture. She wants to know what holds your life together when no one is clapping for you. That matters because attraction can enjoy your presence. Intimacy studies it. There's a difference. Maybe she asks about your routine. Maybe she notices the discipline in small things. The way you speak about your time, the way you don't seem desperate to be perceived, the way you can sit in silence without needing to fill it with performance. A lot of younger men underestimate how seductive emotional steadiness is because they've been taught to market intensity instead. Intensity gets attention, steadiness gets trusted, and trust is where intimacy begins. Now here's the psychological layer underneath that first sign. When a woman begins opening that hidden interior space with an older guy, she is often testing one question without saying it out loud: can I relax here without losing myself? That's the real test. Not whether you can charm her, not whether you can impress her, whether your presence makes her feel more defended or less. A lot of men fail here because they get excited and rush to claim meaning before meaning has fully formed. Suddenly they overtext, over-explain, over-pursue. They turn a subtle opening into pressure. That kills the very thing she was starting to feel. Because pressure is not intimacy. Pressure is fear trying to secure an outcome. The second clear sign is less obvious but even more revealing. She starts comparing you silently or verbally to the emotional immaturity she's learned to distrust. Not always directly. Sometimes it comes out as relief. She'll say things like, "You're easy to talk to," or "You actually listen," or "I don't feel like I have to guess where you're coming from." Those phrases sound simple. They're not simple. They're data. They mean she is sensing contrast. And contrast is powerful because desire often sharpens when something healthy exposes how exhausting unhealthy has been. Imagine a woman who has spent years around men who speak quickly, promise easily, react impulsively, pull away when things get real, and call it being complicated. Then she encounters a man who is older, not perfect, not trying to cosplay wisdom, but grounded. He answers directly. He doesn't panic at emotion. He doesn't turn every disagreement into a referendum on his worth. He's not trying to win the room. He's trying to be honest in it. That hits harder than people realize because emotional maturity feels like oxygen to someone who's been breathing smoke. This is why the second sign often looks like unusual comfort. She lingers, she re-engages, she remembers details, she circles back to things you said days ago because they stayed with her. She brings up topics that matter. She wants your read on things that are personal, not because she needs a savior, but because your perspective feels clarifying to her. Be careful here. This is where insecure men get delusional. Not every vulnerable conversation is desire. Not every comfortable interaction is intimacy. Some women feel safe with you, and that's all it is. So don't turn basic decency into fantasy. Stay calibrated, stay adult. But if that comfort is paired with emotional charge, with sustained curiosity, with a softness that is selective rather than general, then yes, something deeper may be forming. And here is the hard truth attached to that. If you are older, she is not only reading what you say, she is reading whether your age has actually become wisdom or just become entitlement. A man with years but no self-awareness is not mature. He is just older. That's all. Time alone does not refine character. Sometimes it only exposes it. That's why the real-life cost of misreading these dynamics is so high. Men either become arrogant or self-betraying. Arrogant men assume a younger woman's attention is proof of power, and they start posturing. Self-betraying men feel chosen and immediately lose all emotional balance. Both lose. One becomes manipulative. The other becomes needy. Neither is attractive for long. The third clear sign is this: she starts creating emotional privacy with you, not secrecy. Privacy. There is a difference. Secrecy is about hiding. Privacy is about protecting something that feels meaningful before it has a name. She may speak to you differently when others aren't around. Not in a scandalous way, in a real way. The tone changes. Her attention gets less scattered. She becomes more present, more intentional, less performative. It feels like she steps out of the social room and into something more sincere. That shift matters because intimacy needs a private emotional channel to grow. Public chemistry can be theater. Private sincerity is where truth starts. Maybe it's the way she holds eye contact a little longer when the room gets quiet. Maybe it's how her humor softens and her questions deepen. Maybe she shares something she normally buries under competence. Maybe she looks at you after saying something honest, almost as if she's checking whether your face is going to change. That look tells you everything. She's not asking, "Can you get me?" She's asking, "Can you hold the reality of me without making me regret showing it?" That is intimacy territory. Now let's ground this in an archetype, because too many men hear these conversations and imagine some slick, hyper-calculated version of masculinity that is all edge and no soul. That's not the man she trusts. The grounded older man is not theatrical. He does not weaponize his calm. He doesn't use silence like a trick. He is self-respecting, emotionally stable, purpose-driven, but not rigid. He knows how to laugh. He knows when to speak and when to let a moment breathe. His life has structure, His energy is clean. He does not need a woman's attention to feel like a man, which is exactly why his attention carries weight when he gives it. He pays his bills. He keeps his word. He takes care of his body because he intends to be here, fully here, for a long time. He is not trying to relive youth. He is trying to inhabit his life honestly. There is no desperation in him. No frantic need to prove he still got it. And because of that, women around him feel something rare now. They feel they are encountering a man who is not trying to extract something from every interaction. That calm is not boring. It's rare. And rare always gets felt. So what do you do if you sense these signs? First, slow down enough to deserve the truth. Do not jump from signal to story. Let patterns emerge. Let her consistency tell you what her momentary warmth cannot. Respond with presence, not hunger. If she opens up, meet her there, but don't crowd the space. If she asks real questions, answer honestly, not performatively. Don't give TED Talks. Don't sell your maturity. Embody it. And if there is attraction in the air, do not become either evasive or overeager. Say what you mean with clean language. Hold eye contact. Be warm without being invasive. Let your interest be felt, not shoved forward. The older man who handles this well understands that the deepest form of confidence is not speed. It's steadiness. This matters because people can feel when your actions are driven by appetite alone. Appetite rushes. Appetite fantasizes. Appetite turns another human being into an emotional solution. But mature desire does something different. It notices, it respects, it waits long enough to tell the difference between curiosity, projection, loneliness, and something real. That waiting is not weakness, that's discipline, and discipline protects everybody involved. The perspective shift is simple but not easy. Stop asking, how do I make her want intimacy with me? That question already corrupts the space. Ask better, am I the kind of man whose presence makes intimacy feel safe, honest, and worth choosing? That changes everything, because now you're not chasing signs like a starving man. You're becoming legible to the right person. And if she wants closeness with you, truly wants it, the signs won't just appear in flashes. They will gather, they will repeat. They will settle into a pattern of openness, respect, ease, curiosity, and voluntary emotional depth. That's when you know you're not just being admired, you're being invited. Quietly maybe, carefully maybe, but invited. So carry yourself accordingly. Don't turn age into a gimmick. Don't turn her interest into a trophy. Don't confuse being desired with being entitled. Let your standards stay high. Let your attention stay honest. Let your presence stay clean. Because at the end of the day, this is bigger than whether one woman wants intimacy with an older guy. This is about who you are becoming. Whether your years have made you softer in the right ways and stronger in the necessary ones. Whether your life feels like somewhere another person can exhale. That is the deeper win. Not conquest, not validation. Not proving something to people who never understood you anyway. Depth, clarity, self-command, and if that's the path you're on, keep walking it. Let your age become substance. Let your restraint become strength. Let your honesty become the thing that separates you from men who are still trying to be chosen before they've learned how to choose themselves. That's the reset. You are not here to chase hints with a restless mind. You are here to become the kind of man who can recognize real intimacy without forcing it, receive it without fumbling it, and walk away from illusion without resentment. That is power. Quiet power, durable power, the kind that doesn't need applause to remain true. If that's your language, clarity, discipline, growth, subscribe and stay close. This is for people who want to move through life with self-respect, emotional intelligence, and a standard that doesn't collapse the moment attention shows up.